Hello there, Mr. Sutton here, bringing you the IM381 Part 1 homework solutions on mean, median, and mode. To find mean, median, and mode for this list of numbers, well, let's start with the mean. That's all these things added together divided by the total number of items. So let me add these all in the calculator. Adding those all together, looks like we end up with 139. So we're going to have 139 divided by the number of items, which is 6, and let me go to the calculator for that exact number. So that comes out to approximately 23.17, nearest hundredth. Now for the median, I have to write these in order and pick the middle number, or the average of the middle two numbers. So our first number is 4. After that we have a 9, 16, 25, 36, and 49. And now I'll just cross them off from the ends until I get to the inside. So I'll cross off 4 and 49 at the same time, and then 9 and 36. And then, well, there's two numbers in the middle, so our median is going to be the mean or average of those two numbers, 16 plus 25 over 2. So that's going to be, let's see here, 41 over 2, which is 20.5. So there's our median. And then for the mode, it's whatever number appears the most. Now, since looking at our list we made for the median, none of these appears more than once. That means there is no mode. For this list of numbers, to find the mean, let me first add all these together and then divide by the total number of numbers. So adding all this up on my calculator, I get 68. All right, so our mean is going to be 68 divided by something. Now, how many of these are there? Let's see, there's 5 up to that last 8, and then there's another 1, 2, 3, 4 after, so 9 total. And let's divide by 9 on the calculator. 68 divided by 9. That's going to be 7.56, rounded to the nearest hundredth. And now let's write these in order and pick the middle number to find the median. So what's the smallest number out there? Well, that's 5.5. And then after that, we have a 6, a 7. We have 4 of these 8s. And then we have an 8.5, and we have a 9. I'm just going to start at the ends and cross off pairs of numbers till I get to the middle number. So 5.5 and 9 are gone. Then 6 and 8.5, 7 and this last 8, and then the 8 here and the 8 over here. So our median then is just going to be this one middle number, which is 8. And now for the mode, that's whatever number appears the most. I think we can agree that 8 appears way more than any of these other numbers, so 8 is our mode. For this problem, we're trying to find the mean, median, and mode of this list. So let's start with mean. That's going to be the sum of all these things divided by the number of them. So let's add all these up on the calculator. So adding all those together, that's going to be 90. So our mean then is going to be 90 over the number of items, which in this case is 5. And dividing that, you could use a calculator or not. That's going to come out to 18. So now for the median, we have to put these in order and then find the middle item. So it looks like actually we've got 10, 14, 18, 22, 26. These are actually already in order, so I'm just going to rewrite that. And now to find the middle item, we're just going to cross off items at each end of the list until we get to the middle. So 10 and 26 get crossed off, 14 and 22, and that leaves us with one middle item, which is going to be 18. So that is our median, because it's the only middle item. All right, and now for the mode, we pick the most commonly listed item. Now, since each of these is listed at most once, that means there actually is no mode if they only appear one time. To find the mean, median, and mode of this data set, let's start by finding the mean. So I'm going to add up everything in here and divide it by the number of items. Let me do that on the calculator. So adding all those together, that's going to come out to 43. So we have 43 over the number of items, which in this case is 8. And doing that on the calculator, we got 43 divided by 8. I'll just divide my answer by 8. And that's going to be, if I round to the nearest hundredth, 5.38. Now for the mean, or the median rather, let's put these in order. So let's see, the lowest number here is 2. And after that, we've got 4. We've got 2 of those. And after the 4s, we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3 6s. Then we have a 7. Then we have an 8. And that's 8 items, so that accounts for everything. And you could cross them off as we go. So now we actually are going to cross off the outer two numbers until we get to the middle number or numbers. So you've got 2 and 8 getting crossed off, and then 4 and 7, and then 4 and 6, and that leaves us with two middle numbers. Now, the rule when you have two middle numbers is that we're going to average them together, find the mean of those. So this is going to be 6 plus 6 over 2, giving us the median. And this is just 12 over 2, which is just 6. So 6 is our median. Okay, so now the mode, that's the number that appears the most. And it looks like that's going to be 6. That appears 3 times. Nothing else appears that many times. 4 only appears twice. So the mode then is 6. For this problem, we have a stem and leaf plot, and we want the mean, median, and mode of this thing. So let's start with the mean. That's going to be all of these data items added together and dividing that by the number of items. So let's talk about the number of items first. I think that'll be a little easier to find. That's just going to be the number of actual leaves here, because each of these represents an individual item. So we have a 4 plus 3 is 7, plus another 6 is 13, plus 2 is 15, plus 1 is 16 total items. So whenever we figure out, what all this stuff adds up to, we'll divide it by 16. So to see what it actually adds up to, we need to write out the numbers that these represent. So we've got two things going on here. One of them is the whole stem versus leaf thing. So this 0, 1 really just means 1. And 0, 3 means 3. 2, 6 means 26. So basically you're just sticking one of these numbers next to the stem number. But there's something else going on as well, because all the numbers you think you have got there actually need to get multiplied according to this key down here by 100. Like they said, 1, 5 isn't really 15, it's 1500. That means this 1 right here isn't really 1, it's 100. And this 3 is 300. So we have to take that into account as well. To write all that out and capture it without wasting a whole bunch of space and time writing all those zeros, I'm just going to multiply everything by 100 right at the beginning. So I'm going to put 100, and then I'm going to put a big parentheses with all the stuff added inside. So inside this parentheses, I really am going to just add 1 and 3 and 8, because these will be 100, 300, and 800 after you multiply this out. And then we have a plus 9, plus 1, 1 means that's 11, plus 15, plus 18, plus 22, plus 24, 26, and we have 3 of these 29s. I'm just going to write plus 3 times 29, because why write it 3 times? Then we have 32, 38, and finally 41, and I'll close the big parentheses. Let's add all that up on the calculator. Let me adjust my fraction bar while I'm at it. So I'm about to enter all this in the calculator. Now really make sure when you do this you've got that 100 out in front of the parentheses, and then let me add all that stuff inside. Okay, added all of it up, and I close my parentheses at the end, although I don't think I needed to. So that comes out to 33,500. And all of that's being divided by 16. So going back to the calculator and dividing by 16, that is going to come out to 2,093.75. So there's our mean. That's the mean boiling point, apparently, of what I'm not really sure, but it sounds sciencey. So now we have to go on to median. So to get the middle item out of all these, we need them to be in order, and then we just cross off the outer two items until we get to the middle of the list. So the good news is a stem and leaf plot, everything's already in order. The stems are in order, the leaves and within the stems are in order. So we're just going to start crossing off right away directly on the stem and leaf plot. So I've got this 1 and this 41, which we know really means 100 and 4100. I'll cross those off. Then we have a 3 and a 38. And we have an 8 and a 32. Then we have a 9 and this 29 here. Then we have the 11 and another 29, 15 and the last of the 29s. Then we have 18, and then this is going to be 26. And then finally we have 2 and 4 left in the middle. Since there's two items, we average them together or take the mean in order to get the median. So this is actually going to be 2,200 plus 2,400 divided by 2, which is going to come out to, the number directly in the middle of these is 2,300. So that's our median. The mode is whichever of these got repeated the most. So just take a look at your leaves and see which one you see the most duplicates for. Looking through all of these, there's really no duplicates until you get to these 9s. and there's 3 of those. Nothing else even comes close. So it looks like 2900 or 2900 is our mode. To find mean, median, and mode for this stem and leaf, let's first figure out how many items there are. That'll help us with the mean. So we've got 1, let's see, counting the leaves here, we've got 1, another 5 gives us 6, this is 8, 9, 14, 15. So the mean is the number, the total sum of all the data divided by the number of items. So we're going to have something divided by 15 because there's 15 of those. So now we have to write out the individual numbers that we're adding together. And part of this is recognizing, how these stem and leaves work. Like if you have a 2 for the stem and an 8 for the leaf, you just combine these numbers and you've got 28. And here we've got 30, 34, 36, and so on and so forth. But you have to be careful and always look at the key. If you look down here at the key on this problem, you'll notice that 39 isn't really 39. It's 39,000. So whatever numbers you think you're getting by reading this chart here, you have to multiply by 1,000. But it's kind of cumbersome to write 1,000 or three zeros after everything that we write down here. So just to save a little time, I'm going to write 1,000 out in front. I'm going to open a parentheses, and then I'm going to add what I think are all these actual numbers inside, or at least what these numbers appear to be, without taking the 1,000 into account. So I'll just multiply by 1,000 after adding everything. Okay, so my first number then is 28. And again, I'm opening a parentheses now. I'm basically distributing this 1,000 to everything I'm adding here. Then we have a 30, 34, 36, 2 of these 39s. Down here we have a 40, a 43, and this is a 56. We have 63, 65, 67, 2 of these 69s. And finally, 77 is our last number, and we'll close that parentheses. So again, these numbers in here are all getting multiplied by 1,000 when all is said and done. Let me do this numerator now on the calculator. So on my calculator, my very first step right away before I do anything, I'm going to write 1,000 and open a parentheses. I don't want to forget to do that. And now off camera, I'll enter all this stuff. So I've entered all of that, closed my parentheses. I've basically got this on the calculator. Press enter. And that's 755,000 divided by 15. And now let me actually do that on my calculator. So I've already got the 755,000 in there. Let me just divide that now by 15 to get 50,333.33, nearest hundredth there. So apparently that's our mean monthly revenue. Next, let's find the median. So that's the middle item when all the data items are sorted from smallest to greatest. So the good news is these are already sorted out. The stems are in order. The leaves are in order. So to figure out the middle item, we can actually just use this stem and leaf chart and just start crossing off each pair of items at the outer edges of the data until we get to the very center. So this 28 and 77, we'll cross those off. And then we've got 30 and 69. And again, just imagine this is just a list of numbers. So we've got 34, 69 getting crossed off, then 36 and 67, 39 and 65, 39 and 63. And now we're working our way in a little bit more. We've got 40 and then 56. Those are getting crossed off. And at this point, we have only one item left. Once there's a single item left, that is the median. But remember, this isn't 43. This is 43,000 for our median. Next, for the mode, the most repeated items. So let's look for duplicate leaves to figure that out quickly. The only duplicates I see, this 39, it looks like. There's 2 of those. And further down, we have 69. There's 2 of those. So that means we have 39,000 and 69,000 sharing the honors as the mode. If there's 2 things that have more than anything else, then they're tied. It's only when you only have a single of each number that there's no mode. Otherwise, there's always a mode. So those are our modes. For this problem, we're finding mean, median, and mode for a stem and leaf plot. So let's start with the mean, which is the actual items added together and divided by the number of items. Let me figure out the number of items here. So let's see here. We've got 1, 4, plus another 5 is 9. This brings us to 13, 16, 17 items altogether. So our mean is going to be a whole bunch of stuff added together divided by 17. Now let's add a whole bunch of stuff together. I'm going to actually write out the numbers so that I can show people what I'm actually doing here. So we've got a 3 and a 5 here. This means 35. And then we have 42, another 42, and a 4 and a 6 is 46, and we're adding all these. Then we have 50, 54, 55, 56, 59, and for the next row we have a 60, a 61, another 61, a 67. After that we have a 75, 77, 79, and finally this last one is 84. So let's add all this stuff in the numerator, and then I'll divide it by the denominator. All right, here we go. Adding all that stuff on the calculator, all 17 items. Really glad I have a calculator. And that is going to be 1,003. So we're dividing that by 17 to get the mean, and we'll round to the nearest hundredth. So divide 17. Oh, exactly 59. Nice. Okay, well, let's do the median next. That's the middle number once these are all put in order. The good news is the way these are structured, everything is actually in order. The stems are all in order, and the leaves individually are in order as well within each stem. So we're just going to cross off numbers at the beginning and the ends of this list, essentially, until we get to the middle item. Alternatively, if you really wanted to, you could use all these numbers you just wrote out for the numerator of the mean and cross those off. But I'll do it directly in the diagram here. So we've got the 35 and the 84 getting crossed off at the same time. And we have 42 and 79, 42 and 77, 46 and 75. Next we have 50 and 67, 54 and 61, 55 and another of those 61s. And then finally we have 56 and 60. That leaves us with this middle item of 59. And since that's the only middle item, then that is the median. So it ends up being the same as the mean. All right, now how about the mode? That's the one that appears the most. Well, for this, I'm just going to look at leaves that appear multiple times. So we've got this 2 appearing twice, so there's 2 of the 42s. And let's see here, these are all unique. We have these 1s appearing twice, so that's 2 61s. And it doesn't look like anything else gets repeated. So we have a mode then of 42, and that's tied with 61. Since they both appeared more than once and they appeared the same number of times, they both count as the mode.